Superman wasn't just the first serious superhero blockbuster, it was a gamble that redefined movie magic and nearly fell apart at every turn. Behind the scenes, egos clashed, budgets exploded, and actors stormed off set, from Marlon Brando's bizarre demands to a disastrous flying rig that nearly broke bones. The chaos was nonstop. And then there's the shocking truth about who really wore the cape first, and why Christopher Reeve almost wasn't even cast. This isn't just a movie about an alien savior, it's the story of a cinematic miracle that defied Hollywood's expectations. Here are 20 weird facts about Superman you've never heard. And wait until the bonus fact, because it involves a real-life government cover-up. Ready to fly into the madness? Then hit that cape and let's go. 1. The original Superman was Muhammad Ali's voice. Double? Before Christopher Reeve ever donned the tights, producers cast another Superman and actually started filming with him. His name? Patrick Wayne, son of Western icon John Wayne. But when Wayne dropped out due to his father's illness, chaos erupted. The studio had already sunk money into early footage, and now they had no Man of Steel. The search restarted. Hundreds of actors auditioned, including Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and even Neil Diamond. Yes, the crooner of Sweet Caroline was seriously considered, but the producers wanted someone unknown, pure, and classically heroic. Reeve, at the time a stage actor and soap opera guest star, barely made the cut. He was considered too skinny, too nerdy. It wasn't until he physically transformed and insisted on doing his own stunts that he sealed the deal. Not X-Men, not Batman. Superman almost had a cowboy and a pop singer as its leading man. 2. Marlon Brando refused to learn his lines. Marlon Brando, the Oscar-winning legend, was cast as Jor-El, Superman's father. But what audiences didn't see was how Brando's involvement nearly destroyed the production. Brando flatly refused to learn his lines. His reason? He believed memorizing dialogue was unnatural. Instead, Brando demanded cue cards placed off-camera, even hidden in baby Kal-El's crib. In one take, he had lines taped to the diaper. Director Richard Donner had to get creative. Brando would read his lines while still delivering one of the film's most powerful performances. He also insisted Jor-El could be a green suitcase or a bagel, because he thought alien life forms didn't need to look human. The studio paid him $3.7 million for less than 15 minutes of screen time. It wasn't acting. It was performance warfare. And yet, somehow, Brando's presence added gravitas, even if he phoned it in from a diaper. 3. The flying effects took a year to get right. You'll believe a man can fly. That was the tagline, and also the film's biggest challenge. The VFX team tried everything to make flight look real. Wires? Too visible? Blue screen? Too fuzzy? Stuntmen on cranes? Dangerous and clunky. Enter Zoran Perisic, a Yugoslavian inventor who developed the Zoptic front projection system. It allowed Superman to fly convincingly with real background movement, not flat plates. The system used synchronized lenses to track and move backgrounds with the actor, but even with the tech, flying scenes were a nightmare. Christopher Reeve was often suspended for hours, painfully strapped into harnesses. One wrong twitch, and the illusion shattered. The team tested dozens of suits, capes, and lighting tricks to sell the magic. It wasn't CGI, it was brutal, practical wizardry. Superman didn't just fly, he earned it, one aching wire harness at a time. 4. Gene Hackman refused to shave his mustache. Gene Hackman agreed to play Lex Luthor, with one condition: he wasn't shaving his mustache. He told producers it was non-negotiable. After all, Hackman was fresh off an Oscar and had no interest in conforming to a comic book image. Director Richard Donner, desperate to avoid conflict, struck a deal. He would shave his own mustache, too. On set, the two men stood side by side in front of mirrors. Donner shaved first, Hackman followed. But here's the kicker. Donner was wearing a fake mustache all along. It was a prank to manipulate Hackman into compliance. The crew roared with laughter. Hackman, stunned, ultimately admired the move. That moment set the tone for Hackman's campy, unforgettable performance, a mix of menace and mischief that stole scenes from Superman himself. Not violence, not lasers, just one razor. and a brilliant director's bluff. 5. Christopher Reeve gained 40 pounds of muscle, but refused steroids. When Reeve was cast, he weighed just 170 pounds, too thin to be convincing as Superman. Instead of using padded suits like others suggested, Reeve insisted on real muscle. He hired former British weightlifting champ David Prowse, yes, the man behind Darth Vader's body, to train him. Over the next year, Reeve packed on 40 pounds of pure muscle, transforming his body naturally through rigorous training and nutrition. He refused steroids, which were common at the time, even in Hollywood. The result was legendary. Reeve not only looked the part, he moved like Superman. His real strength helped sell every flying scene, every lift, every punch. It wasn't VFX, it wasn't costume padding, it was one actor's obsession with authenticity. From soap star to superhero, Reeve flew higher than anyone expected. 6. The production was so big it bankrupted the original studio. The ambition of Superman was so vast it collapsed the company that first believed in it. Producers Alexander and Ilya Salkind were notorious for gambling big. They sold foreign rights before the film was even shot. But as costs ballooned from $25 million to over $55 million, they turned to DC Comics' parent company, Warner Bros., for help. The original distributor, Warner Communications, grew so anxious about the budget that it pulled out its financing arm entirely. The result? The producers had to secure international pre-sales and private investors to keep filming. At one point, the production faced a complete shutdown in London due to unpaid crew. Superman was a financial black hole until it became the biggest box office hit of 1978, but it nearly buried its own creators before saving the world. 7. Superman and Superman 2 were filmed back-to-back, then split in chaos. Director Richard Donner began shooting Superman and Superman II at the same time. This unusual decision was meant to save money and time. But it backfired. Tensions between Donner and the producers escalated. He clashed with the Salkinds over tone, pacing, and Brando's salary. Midway through the sequel's filming, Donner was fired, and Richard Lester took over. This meant 2 Supermen, 2 Visions, and a fractured production. Scenes shot by Donner were replaced or re-edited. Actors like Margot Kidders and Gene Hackman were caught in the middle. Decades later, fans would finally see the Donner cut of Superman 2, a restoration of his original footage. What began as a clever double feature collapsed into a cinematic turf war. Superman's greatest enemy wasn't Lex Luthor, it was studio politics. 8. The Superman suit was nearly a disaster. The classic red and blue Superman suit may look iconic today, but creating it was anything but super. Early test suits made Reeve look like a Halloween mascot. The materials reflected too much studio lighting, ruining the flying effects. Even worse, the capes were too heavy and caused strain on his back during wire work. The costume department tried dozens of fabric blends before finding the right combination of wool, nylon, and lycra. They also had to dye the colors differently for each type of shot, a brighter blue for day scenes, a deeper blue for nighttime. And the S symbol, it had to be reinforced so it wouldn't wrinkle during stunts. What seems effortless on screen was an engineering puzzle behind the scenes. Superman's look wasn't stitched together. It was forged in fire and trial. 9. Margot Kidders' audition was so chaotic it won her the role. Margot Kidder, who played Lois Lane, delivered a screen test that was so disorganized it became unforgettable. She showed up late, disheveled, with no makeup and coffee stains on her shirt. During the reading, she flubbed lines, cracked jokes, and even tripped over a lighting cable. But instead of tanking, her chaotic charm impressed everyone. Director Richard Donner later said, "She was Lois, smart, funny, a little unpredictable. We didn't want polished, we wanted real." Kidder brought grit and sass to a character often played as a damsel. Her chemistry with Reeve was instant, organic, not rehearsed. Her mess was her magic, not the cleanest audition, but absolutely the right one. 10. The Krypton sets were so bright they burned crew members' eyes. The icy world of Krypton looked ethereal on screen, but the reality? blindingly dangerous. To create the planet's glowing crystalline look, the production used massive white reflective surfaces lit with arc lights and silver foil flooring. The result was a set so bright, crew members had to wear sunglasses indoors. Some suffered eye strain and migraines. Even Brando reportedly walked off the set, complaining, "This is like acting on the sun." The lighting wasn't just uncomfortable, it distorted camera exposure, making Krypton scenes incredibly hard to shoot. Cinematographer Jeffrey Unsworth had to reinvent lighting methods just to keep actors visible. So next time you watch baby Kal-El launch into space, remember, Krypton wasn't just dying, it was melting eyeballs in real time. Go ahead and like and subscribe, because even superhero legends come with scorching secrets. 11. Christopher Reeve performed his own helicopter stunt. That iconic moment when Superman rescues Lois Lane from the falling helicopter? Most actors would have let the stunt double-handle it. Not Christopher Reeve. Determined to embody Superman fully, Reeve insisted on doing his own harness work. The sequence involved him hanging hundreds of feet above the soundstage, suspended by wires in front of a wind machine. Any misstep could have resulted in serious injury, not just for him, but for the actress in his arms. Crew members were terrified. Margot Kidders later said he was fearless. He wasn't just acting heroic, he was heroic. Reeve's athleticism and stage training allowed him to pull it off flawlessly. That perfect superhero landing? 100% real. In an industry full of green screens and body doubles, Reeve made audiences believe because he believed it himself. 12. There was a bizarre lawsuit over the screenwriter's credit. The man who wrote the first drafts of Superman? Mario Puzo, the genius behind The Godfather. But here's the twist. Despite being paid a staggering $600,000, his original screenplay was completely rewritten. Why? Puzo's version was too campy, filled with slapstick and self-parody. It had Superman talking to animals and Lex Luthor bumbling like a Bond villain. Director Richard Donner wanted to take the material seriously and hired Tom Mankiewicz to rewrite the entire thing, fast. But when the credits rolled, the Writers Guild insisted only Puzo's name appear. Mankiewicz was infuriated. He'd spent months shaping the tone, dialogue, and structure. Eventually, Donner added a cheeky, creative consultant credit for Mankiewicz, skirting the WGA's ruling. Superman may have flown, but behind the scenes, credit politics crashed hard. 13. Real explosions nearly destroyed the Daily Planet. Set. The Metropolis newsroom of the Daily Planet felt alive, chaotic, bustling, iconic. But it was almost obliterated mid-shoot. For a dramatic explosion scene, the crew used real pyrotechnics to simulate a seismic event. But one charge misfired, sending a blast of fire across the ceiling, narrowly missing camera operators and actors on set. Paper flew. Lights shorted out. Someone screamed. Richard Donner halted filming immediately. No one was injured, but the ceiling required extensive repairs, delaying production by several days. In an era before CGI, the only way to bring down a newsroom was to actually try to bring it down. Safety protocols were revised, and the crew doubled its inspections. Still, the scars on the ceiling remained, a reminder that even fictional cities are one spark away from collapse. 14. Lex Luthors Lair was based on a real NY subway station. Lex Luthor's underground lair is one of the most visually striking sets in the movie, a kitschy palace hidden beneath the city. But few fans know it was inspired by an actual abandoned New York City subway station. Production designer John Barry, who also worked on Star Wars, wanted something unique. He modeled the lair on City Hall Station, a long-closed but beautifully ornate stop on the NYC subway. Its curved walls, vintage chandeliers, and tiled arches were directly echoed in the film. To build it, the crew replicated the architecture inside Pinewood Studios in London. They added pools, velvet furniture, and a chandelier, because Luthor, of course, needs flair. The result? A villain's lair that felt plausible, like it really existed beneath our feet. Not a fortress, not a cave, just evil real estate with style. 15. The Baby Kal-El pod was a death trap. The escape pod that carries baby Kal-El from Krypton to Earth looks sleek and futuristic. But on set, it was anything but safe. The pod's interior was cramped, filled with sharp fiberglass edges and dangerously hot lights. During one test, the pod's ventilation system failed, causing the child actor inside to overheat and nearly faint. Filming was stopped immediately, and Donner demanded the set be rebuilt with cooling vents and softer interiors. Even then, the baby could only be inside for seconds at a time. Ironically, the scene is peaceful and angelic on screen, a serene journey through space. But behind the scenes, it was a claustrophobic panic chamber. The miracle of Superman's arrival wasn't just fictional, it was pulled off with grit, redesigns, and fast-thinking crew members who kept a child from harm. 16. The U.S. government got involved with the flying tech. Superman's flight wasn't just impressive, it drew the attention of actual aerospace engineers. After early footage of the Zoptic flying system surfaced, the U.S. Department of Defense reportedly contacted the effects team, curious about the tracking technology used. Zoran Perisic's system involved motion-controlled camera rigs that could lock onto actors and backgrounds with startling precision, decades before drone tech or real-time VFX existed. Though it had no military application, the EO, optics, and projection alignment were seen as cutting-edge. Hollywood had stumbled into tech territory usually reserved for NASA or military contractors. It wasn't just movie magic, it was optical wizardry that caught the Pentagon's eye. Superman inspired kids to fly, but for a moment, it also made government scientists raise an eyebrow. 17. They had to invent a new kind of wind. The flying scenes to feel real, Superman's cape needed to flutter just right. But there was a problem. Traditional fans caused jerky, unnatural motion, and in wire scenes, any wrong gust made the cape wrap around Reeve's body. So the crew created laminar airflow machines, devices that pushed air in smooth, controlled sheets instead of chaotic blasts. These gave the cape a gentle ripple that matched Superman's speed and direction. Sometimes 5 fans had to be synced just for one shot. Superman didn't just fly through the air, he owned it. 18. Margot Kidders' screen test was so good, they changed the script. Originally, Lois Lane was written as more traditional, demure, cautious, even flirtatious. But after seeing Margot Kidders' audition, Richard Donner decided to rewrite Lois entirely. Her screen test was electric, sharp, sarcastic, fast-talking. Donner told the writers, "She's Rosalind Russell in his Girl Friday. She's not the girl next door, she's the storm across the street." They added tougher dialogue, more independence, and even adjusted Clark Kent's nervousness to make her the dominant presence in scenes. Lois wasn't just a love interest anymore. She became the pulse of Metropolis. Kidders' performance didn't just land her the role, it reshaped a character beloved for decades. Sometimes the right actor doesn't just play the part, they rewrite history. 19. A truckload of reels was stolen before the premiere. Just weeks before the film's world premiere, disaster struck. An entire truck carrying film reels was stolen outside a London processing lab. The reels contained early cuts, sound mixes, and promotional footage. Panic spread fast. Was it a heist? Industrial sabotage? Ransom? The studio offered a £20,000 reward, and local police launched an investigation. Days later, the truck was found abandoned, with the reels miraculously intact. Nothing was damaged. Superman had enemies off-screen too, but this time, he got lucky. 20th. The theme music was almost thrown out. John Williams's score is now legendary. That bold brass opening, the fluttering strings, the da-da-da-da theme that says hero in every language. But producers initially hated it. When Williams first played it for them, they said it was too bombastic, too on the nose, and too old-fashioned. They wanted something trendier, like disco or synth rock. Williams stood his ground. He told them the theme was designed to say the word Superman, musically, like a verbal chant hidden in melody. Donner backed him. So did Reeve. Eventually, the producers relented, and history was made. Today, that theme is ranked among the greatest in cinema. It wasn't just music, it was cinematic prophecy. You don't just hear Superman's theme, you believe in it. Bonus fact, the CIA monitored Superman's foreign screenings. In a twist that sounds like comic book fiction, it turns out the CIA monitored Superman's release in several Cold War countries. Why? The film's themes of truth, justice, and the American way made it a soft power weapon. Intelligence reports noted how audiences in the Soviet bloc reacted to scenes of heroism, capitalism, and individual power. Screenings were quietly tracked in East Germany, Czechoslovakia, and Poland. The CIA even funded translated versions in specific regions, hoping the film would inspire pro-West sentiment. Superman wasn't just entertainment, he became a tool of ideology. It wasn't just truth and justice, it was propaganda in a cape, and the world watched. Superman didn't just create a superhero movie, it forged a blueprint for modern blockbusters. But it did so on the brink of collapse, with rewrites, ego battles, exploding budgets, and impossible special effects. It was chaos, and from that chaos, a legend emerged. Christopher Reeve soared, John Williams thundered, and a generation believed in heroes again. If this blew your mind, hit that like button, subscribe for more hidden film truths, and remember, no matter how high the odds stack against you, you can still fly. Because the real magic of Superman was never the cape. It was the courage to wear it.